Hi members, my name is S.L.Ager and I'm the author of the 11 plus vocabulary novel series, the Cadwallader Quests, and their supporting workbooks. You can see those behind me there. And now there's also the Cadwallader Chronicles, which are aimed at younger readers, especially year 4. And that's the first book there, Trap, which is out now, and there'll be another 2 this year. I'd like to say thanks to Agnes O'Brien for inviting me to host this session in a group. Agnes is the founder of this fabulous community, the 11 plus ISEB, SATs, GCSE and A-level resource group. And after a short break, it's great to be back talking to some of our amazing tutors and resource providers once again. This session is called Tutor Focus. Today, I'm talking to Zainab of Bright Science Academy. Hi Zainab, how are you today?
Hi Sheena, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And thanks for agreeing to join me today. We like to keep the sessions short because we know how precious time is. So if it's okay with you, do you mind if we jump straight into the questions?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Brilliant. Okay, so what do you specialise in and where are you based?
Okay, so we are a team of about 10 tutors and rapidly growing. We specialise in the sciences. So we specialize in biology, chemistry, physics, but we also do maths. And we do this from ages from year 6 all the way up until A levels. So we do one-to-one sessions, we do paired sessions, group sessions, we provide workshops and revision crash courses, which are quite popular. And what we really specialize in is we really try and introduce exam questions quite early on in the process. Content is covered by schools anyway. They have a lot of content to cover in a very short space of time. So what we try to do is complement that by putting what they've learned at school into practice quite early on. So that's kind of where our speciality lies. And in terms of where we're based on the virtual world, which is great because it gives us the opportunity to employ the best tutors.
Absolutely.
You know, if there's a really good tutor that I know of who's in South London, I can pair him or her up with a student who perhaps needs someone from, who's in North London, for example. So Absolutely. It works perfectly, yeah.
And how and why did you become a tutor?
Gosh, yes, this is an interesting question. So I was actually a tutor when I was 16 years old, believe it or not. So my first ever paid job was with Kumon. And but little did I know at that time that this was going to be my full-time career. So I was obviously just doing it as a side job. And also actually both my sisters, they are educators. They train to be primary teachers. And when I used to see them come home with all this workload and all the marking and the admin work that was going with it, I was like, this is not something I want to do. I am not going into teaching. So that was me at that time. But then what happened, I went on to do a degree in pharmaceutical chemistry, again, trying to avoid the teaching route. But I still kept tutoring going on the sideline whilst I was doing my degree. And what happened was in my final year, I wasn't actually doing really well. Unfortunately, believe it or not, in chemistry, I wasn't doing really well. But what happened was I went to my tutor, my university tutor, and I said, look, I really want to graduate with a 2-1. What can I do to really, get out with that 2-1? And he looked at me and he said, Zainab, it's too late. There's nothing you could do now. And I was actually really shattered. And I remember walking out of his office and he actually, had a little laugh while I walked out. So I was quite upset by that. But then what happened is I went to my dissertation tutor and I asked her the same thing. I said, look, sir, I really want to get a 2-1. What do I need to do? And he said, look, Zainab, anything is possible. All you need to do is pull your socks up. This is what you need to do. He actually sat down and did all the calculations for me. He said, you need to get over 90% in all your 8 exams to secure the 2-1. And this is how you can do it. He said, I've had a student do it before. Of course, you can do it as well. And I walked out of that room so energized, so pumped that actually, you know what, I can do this. And I did. I got out with a 2-1. I got over 90% in all my 8 exams. And what helped me do it? It was the tutor who actually believed in me.
Yeah.
believed I could do it.
And
it
that's
was
what
that,
led you to be a
and
tutor.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's what led me to be a tutor. I said, wow, someone can have such a drastic effect on me. So that's kind of what led me to really go on then to pursue my teacher training. So I did my PGCE. I trained to be a qualified science teacher. And then I went I went to teach in Malaysia for a year. That was an absolutely amazing experience. There was a school that was moving towards the international IGCSEs. So I was really helping them I was training the teachers, helping them move towards that syllabus, etc. And I was
so well done to you and to that tutor as well. Otherwise, you may never have taken that career. You've covered
exactly.
this a little bit, but what makes your tuition and your tuition company different? What's your USP? So I had a listen on your website and I know one of them. So tell us what makes you different.
So we really focus a lot on the holistic approach to education. So all our tutors, they're employed obviously because of their academic abilities as well, but also how is their relationship with their students? What will they do to help increase the confidence of the students, and lots of other things. So that is crucial for us. We have students who just feel that this subject is just too hard for them, and it's about breaking that negative thinking and instilling that love of the subject for them through the holistic approach.
There's two things that you've mentioned. So one was when I was looking at your website. One is that all your tutors are actually qualified teachers, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's quite important to get across to parents. But there was something that you said at the beginning of our chat, and that was you introduce exam questions early.
Yes.
I personally think, this is just my personal opinion, because I've got a daughter who's gone through GCSE, she's doing A-levels now. The biggest thing that has helped her has just been exam questions.
Yes. Absolutely.
You can revise and revise and revise,
absolutely,
but there's no revision like doing the real thing.
Exactly. I mean, you can have a bucket load of information in your head, but if you do not know how to apply it to the question, if you don't know how to understand the language of the exam, then it's no good.
And one thing I've noticed with my kids, even though my daughter, she's A-levels this year, she's very eloquent, very well spoken.
Yes.
However, she waffles when she writes. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a thing that you see with kids.
We do.
But introducing those exam questions early and getting them to hone their writing skills and get the marks and hoover up the points, I think is incredible. And I think you're the only tuition. I mean, yes, you're teaching older kids as well. A lot of the people that I talk to are teaching younger kids, but even so, getting those exam techniques to me is an amazing, unique selling point, and something
absolutely, because that's what's unfortunately, that's the only thing that's going to assess them. There's no other way to assess them. Although I don't completely agree that should be the only way of assessing them. Unfortunately, we live in a society which it is, so we have to do it that way.
So work to the strengths, do the real stuff. And what are your greatest tutoring strengths, would you say?
Okay, so I think it's being able to put myself in the student's shoes. I was a student at one point and I know how it feels. So it's really putting yourself in the student's shoes. And what I tend to do is I really dissect the topic out, really dissect it to the bones, to the basics, and then snowball the information back so that they understand it. Like, I mean, for example, you've written fantastic books. Now, if they are fantastic. If we were to ask a child to write a book, you'd obviously take them back from the start. Well, how do you structure your sentences? How do you use paragraphs, punctuation, vocabulary? All that stuff has to happen first before you jump into writing a book. In the same way with science, if I'm teaching ionic bonding, for example, I have to dissect it back to the basics and then snowball the information back. And that's one thing, but I want to add one more point really quickly, is breaking that negative thinking of a student. I think when I was teaching at schools, I was teaching a foundation set, and I asked them, I said, who here is actually going to pursue a degree, pursue science, or who here is going to do one of the sciences at A-levels? and none of them put up their hand. I think one actually did, but then he saw that nobody else was putting up their hand, so he just put his down as well. And they actually said, no, miss, we can't do it. We're too, and the actual words they were saying, we're too dumb, without even attempting it. But that is what it is. I love breaking that negative thinking, that actually you can do it. Anyone can do it. It's about giving it that goal.
One of the things that really upsets me when I read in the Facebook groups is when a parent, and it's not their fault, but they will post saying, is my child bright enough to do the 11 plus? My answer is, any child can do the 11 plus if they've got the right mindset that comes from parents, etc. The right environment, the right opportunity, and the right resources. Any child can.
Totally agree.
It's such a shame when people don't have a growth mindset purely because they've not been brought up possibly in that way. So, you know, I think, again, you've made a lovely point there, and it's so true. And what's your favorite part of tutoring, would you say?
Being able to tailor my teaching to that student. In schools, there's a lot of emphasis on consistency, and consistency is great, I think, in terms of admin work, but when it comes to teaching, I think every teacher has their own unique style of teaching. What works for one teacher isn't going to work for another teacher, so it's very difficult to keep that consistency in school, because I love producing my own resources. I love producing my own PowerPoints, but obviously at school, sometimes you're told you have to use the department resources, and that limited my teaching. I felt that limited student progression. So whereas in tutoring, I can actually tailor it. You know, there's actual student, you can actually see student progress. You can tailor it to the students as much as you want.
Yeah, I guess school, you know, a school has to be a little bit of a one size fits many. Whereas, you know, tutoring, like you say, you can tailor it exactly to that child. You know, if that child is fortunate enough to be tutored. And not all children realize how fortunate they are to have such great tutors. But before we wrap this session, there's one question that I always ask, and it's a difficult one to answer because you are only allowed one. What would be it's difficult for you because I guess would you give different tips to 11 plus GCSE and A level? I think you probably would. So what's your one top tip to parents? So you're going to give 3, one for 11 plus, one for GCSE, and one for A level. That's hard.
Yes, you put me on the spot there. I'm actually going to combine them, if that's okay.
Of course,
because I think this is quite an important point. And we actually did a collaboration with Dr. Kathy Weston. I'm not sure if you've heard of her, a couple of years ago. And she made a really important point, which we discussed and we thought was really important. And that was parental engagement as a top tip to parents, parental engagement. If you look at the statistics, with a child who has parents engaged in their learning, their attainment is increased by 20%. And it could be something as simple, it doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, it's what you do with them that matters. And it could be something as simple as, you know, checking in on their homework. Have they done their homework this week? What homework has been set from school? And things like just during exam time, giving them that positive learning environment at home, giving them the space to study. I remember when I was younger, my mum, she would actually collect me from the train station, drop me, so I didn't have that extra time lost in walking. And it's just those little things. And she would cook my favorite meals, make me a cup of tea. It's just that those little things, they really matter, and they really help students.
I think that's an absolutely amazing tip. And I mean, I guess parents that are engaging tutors are definitely interested in the first place.
Yes.
But also what I would say is a parent should be as involved as possible, but should never just rely on a tutor for their child to pass that exam. Tutors they're not a magic bullet.
No.
You do have to be there. It's a partnership with your tutor and your child.
I see it as a triangle.
Absolutely.
You know, the students in the middle, and you've got the parents, you've got the tutor, and you've got the school. And if we all work together, we get the best outcome for the student.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, I do sometimes worry when I read in the Facebook groups that when I get the feeling that a parent thinks just by sending your child to tuition for an hour, 2 hours, I don't know, 3 hours a week, they're gonna achieve that. It does have to be at home as well. So that is an amazing point. Yes. So Zainab, please tell us where we can find you online.
So the best way to kind of contact us would be through our website, www.brightscienceacademy.com. The Facebook group, obviously I'm an admin in Agnes's group as well.
Do you have your own Facebook page as well?
I do, yes. So it's Bright Science Academy.
Okay.
And the best way is also just pick up the phone and contact me. I love talking to clients. You know, that's my passion in life as well. I love talking to clients. I love talking to parents, and I do that on a regular basis. So I'm more than happy to just answer your call and talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Your website's lovely, by the way. Really nice, really engaging. So thanks again to Agnes, and thanks for agreeing to talk to us today. It's been lovely.
Thank you for having me.
Take care. Bye.
Okay.